Once a leading chairlift manufacturer known for groundbreaking innovations, the Riblet Tram Company is now a name mostly seen on historic plaques. How did a company that once dominated the industry fade into history? Let's explore the story of the Riblet Tram Company. Oh, I'm so excited for today's video because we are diving into the story of the name that you absolutely need to know if you care about ski history, especially here in the Midwest. And of course, we're talking about the Riblet Tramway Company and how it went from building tramways for miners to becoming absolute legends of the ski world. But the Riblet story doesn't start with snow, of course. It starts with a guy named Byron Christian Riblet. Born in Iowa in 1865, Byron moved to Spokane by the 1880s, and he was a civil engineering whiz. Tramways weren't even on his radar just yet. Byron's first big break in aerial tramways came in 1896, when a silver mine in British Columbia hired him for a project. Expecting a streetcar pitch, Byron was completely thrown off when they asked him for an ore tram instead. Byron quickly adapted, landed the contract, and saw a bigger opportunity in mountain transport. Over the next decade, he built over 30 tramways across booming mining towns. By 1908, Riblet officially founded the company and expanded into Canada, Alaska, and South America. These aerial tramways were critical for efficient ore transport across steep and rugged terrain. Their tramways caught on with logging companies as well, especially in the rugged Pacific Northwest. Their cable systems proved efficient for hauling timber, and innovations in grip and tower design during this time laid the groundwork for something much bigger. Riblet's reach? Well, it was just getting started. But as history often goes, things changed. The Great Depression hit, and the mining business slowed down. Riblet needed a new direction. And here's where I'm gonna stop and talk about Byron's brother, Royal, who, incidentally enough, is often talked about more than Byron. Royal helped in the early years of the Riblet Tram Company, overseeing a blacksmith shop that fabricated tramway parts. However, he had much less to do with the development and innovation of the actual company. Then in the early 1930s, the two brothers had a falling out as Royal was allegedly selling tramway equipment behind Byron's back and, of course, pocketing the money for himself. So Byron fired Royal in 1933. Royal would actually go on to create his own tramway company called Airline Tramway Co., but it was a massive failure. Luckily, someone else would soon enter the picture, someone with a vision that would change everything for Riblet. Enter Carl Hansen, a former mining-era engineer who saw skiing's rise in the 30s and 40s and realized Riblet's trams could move skiers uphill just as well as ore. Without Carl, Riblet might have never entered the ski industry. In 1938, Riblet had a huge turning point that would change its path forever: its first chairlift. Riblet built a single-seater chairlift complete with steel lattice towers, which officially moved skiers at Mount Hood's Timberline Lodge in 1939. This project marked Riblet's ski industry debut, which would last the next 65 years. As skiing exploded after World War II, Riblet quickly became the go-to manufacturer for ski lifts across North America. They specialized in fixed grip chairlifts with a simple, durable, and reliable design. Byron Riblet passed away in 1952, but with Carl as president, the company continued to thrive. Given the post-war economic boom and the rise of ski resorts, Riblet's chairlifts became a critical part of the ski industry. Skiing gained immense popularity, and soon, ski lifts became the dominant focus of the Riblet Tramway Company's business. And then came Tony Soder, who eventually would become the third president of the Riblet Tram Company. He started as a draftsman and was instrumental in developing the core Riblet chairlift system. Throughout his tenure, Tony was responsible for several patents and basically built Riblet's chairlift designs from scratch. Tony led the technical development from the late 60s into the 80s, during which time Riblet was at the forefront of chairlift innovation. One of the most notable designs was Riblet's signature clip, which is woven into the haul line and is an icon of Riblet lifts today. Riblet lifts are engineered to be cost-effective and were known for their minimalistic yet effective design. Nothing fancy, just rock-solid engineering. They continued to test and develop other innovations such as bubble chairlifts, but one of their most significant breakthroughs came right here in the Midwest. In 1964, they introduced the world's first triple chairlift at Boyne Highlands in Michigan, a significant advancement that allowed ski areas to increase uphill capacity significantly. They also developed a streamlined installation process that allowed ski areas to add lifts quickly without needing extensive terrain modification. This was super efficient for growing resorts, and it allowed Riblet to boom in sales. From the late 1960s through the 80s, Riblet built hundreds of chairlifts, and while most of them were located in the United States, they also built lifts in Canada, Australia, and Chile. By the mid-1980s, Riblet had become one of the biggest lift manufacturers in the world. But while they were building, others were innovating, and an industry change was coming that would alter the outlook of the Riblet Tram Company forever. The 1980s and 90s marked a revolution for the ski industry, especially when it comes to chairlifts. In 1981, Doppelmayr debuted the Quicksilver Superchair at Breckenridge, the first mainstream high-speed detachable lift in the world. Although this lift is far less streamlined than today's high speeds, this installation began the high-speed era of lift manufacturing. Now lift companies can offer shorter ride times for skiers, and although they didn't increase uphill capacity, Doppelmayr's next innovation would fix that as well, with the introduction of the first six-pack. This both increased capacity and shortened ride time. Other lift manufacturers such as Palma followed suit with their own high-speed and higher capacity chairlifts as well. Meanwhile, throughout the 1990s, Riblet stayed true to its course, offering only fixed grip chairlifts in doubles, triples, and quads. They figured that the fixed grip design had fewer moving parts and required less maintenance compared to high-speed detachable lifts. This made them an attractive option for smaller and mid-sized ski areas that needed reliable, long-lasting infrastructure. The only problem was, by the end of the century, Riblet, along with its competitors, had saturated the market. Soon, there was less need for cost-effective options and bigger demand for innovative lifts, which Riblet, of course, had none. But it was about to get worse for Riblet, because while everybody welcomed in the millennium, there were massive shakeups for chairlift companies worldwide. In 2002, Garaventa of Switzerland merged with Doppelmayr of Austria, forming the world's largest aerial lift manufacturer, and Doppelmayr USA was also formed as a division of this company. That same year, Leitner Lifts USA in Canada and Palma of America merged to become Leitner Palma of America. This created two monster companies in the chairlift space, and Riblet knew it had a massive problem. Typically, when ski areas purchase chairlifts, they often buy the same brand rather than having several different lift manufacturers. It just makes sense since you can order parts that can be used across your lift portfolio and creates more uniform maintenance and repair protocols. Additionally, it's typically easier to work with one company rather than several. And since Riblet didn't offer high speeds or even six-packs, most ski areas wouldn't be able to use Riblet exclusively. And at this point, Riblet knew it didn't have the offerings and resources to compete with the other two major lift manufacturers. Its president at the time, Doug Soder, Tony's son, announced in 2003 that the company would be closing its doors, stating, "The limited market for fixed grip chairlifts simply does not allow Riblet to retain the specialized personnel and facilities required to build new lifts." Today, there are plenty of Riblet chairlifts across the country, especially here in the Midwest, and a few companies actually still support and supply parts for these lifts. Truth is, with regular maintenance, these are great, reliable lifts that can last a very, very long time. However, as certain parts become harder and harder to find, we will continue to see Riblets find their way to the scrapyard. What's most interesting about this entire story is that just 8 years later after Riblet closed its doors, a new American chairlift company emerged, Skytrack Lifts. Skytrack's strategy? Build economical and straightforward fixed grip chairlifts for smaller resorts, which is almost a direct mirror of Riblet's strategy used just a decade earlier. Although Skytrack was acquired by Leitner Palma in 2016, it continues to operate as a separate brand, consistently installing a handful of chairlifts every single season. And this certainly begs the question, could Riblet have been successful if it could have lasted a few more years? Something to think about. From Byron's mining trams to Carl's ski vision to Tony's engineering, Riblet's story is a multi-generational saga that helped shape modern skiing and especially the chairlift industry. But what do you think? Could Riblet have been successful in today's environment? What's your favorite Riblet chair across the Midwest? Drop it in the comments below. But until next time, I hope everybody has a great week. Pray for that snow, and I'll see you out there.